ape together, strong. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth movie of the Planet of the Apes franchise, which can be considered as a stand-alone movie. And the reason is pretty simple, because you really don't need any information or any prior knowledge of the first three movies in order to understand this movie, the fourth movie of this franchise. And I think the way that they have handled this entire situation is so commendable, because the story that they have crafted in this movie takes so much notes from the first three movies, yet it has its own flavor, but still it doesn't forget its roots. And in fact, the consequences of the actions that we saw in the first three movies also have a huge part to play in this movie as well. We'll talk about this later in this video. But yeah, if you have not seen the first three movies, you can definitely directly watch this fourth movie. But having said that, if you have already seen the first three movies, I have no doubt in saying this, that when you watch this fourth movie, you'll have that emotional connection with this movie. Because if you have already seen the first three movies, I don't need to say this, that in the first three movies, the way that we explored the entire character arc of Caesar, that was legendary. That was literally legendary stuff. And that legendary stuff, I mean, it's quite difficult to make a movie after that end. But the way, as I said, the way that they have carried on his legacy, leaving behind his legacy, but yet kind of passing on the torch as well. But again, at the same time, the consequences of Caesar's ideologies or Caesar's conflicts back in the day, that how that really affects the current situation in the current planet, and they have handled that very well. That means they have given good enough honor to Caesar, but also they have swiftly moved away from the story of Caesar. First of all, the movie starts off with a line that says generations later. Now this line, generations later, is very important for this entire movie and this entire Planet of the Apes universe. And the reason is that the way that the third movie ended, that really left a hole in everyone's heart, like from where do we go here? Like they could have made this movie immediately after the events that happened in the third movie, like immediately after, but they choose to give a huge gap of generations. But they do not tell us that how many years have passed since the third movie. Like not even a single mention, like 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, no mention at all. They only say generations later, and that really opens this wide world of opportunities that they can do. And at the same time, they are not needed to explain all the things, which actually adds on to the mystery of the entire story of this movie. For example, at the very opening shot, we see that we can see a lot of human-made structures still there, and that really begs the question that are humans still present on this planet? Are humans still functional? Are humans still capable of doing what they did earlier? Now this is another thing that this movie really does well. Like this movie, as I said, was a standalone movie, so it had to do a lot of exposition, a lot of explaining of things, because simply this is essentially a new world. So the movie really takes time to build that new world, introduce us to all the characters, because remember, generations after, that means no character from the first three movies really comes back in this movie. There is literally no chance of that. So they have to do this all new first movie kind of stuff, like build this new core group of people, then you know, a lot of those things that you can see in the first movie, like building up the world, building up the characters, building up the dynamic between the characters, establishing all the ground rules of this new world. And that really takes a large amount of time of this movie, but then slowly and steadily things are revealed to us. Then we hear a few things about Caesar that really makes you feel good. Then there are a lot of Easter eggs here and there as well that you can definitely spot. Now let's talk about Caesar's honor or Caesar's legacy in this movie. Now as I said at the earlier part of this video, that the conflicts of Caesar back in his time, or his ideologies of coexisting with humans, really being friends with humans, those ideologies, how they have changed or how they have diluted themselves, or how they are perceived today, or even they are perceived now or not, these all things are encountered in this movie. And that, you know, that's a very generational thing as well. Like a lot of ideologies just kind of, you know, decay themselves and they kind of wash out eventually, and those kind of inspirations are taken from the real world scenarios into this movie, which was very true. Then there's this obvious torchbearer kind of thing as well. I don't want to talk about a lot of spoilers in this movie, because I feel the things that are revealed to you in a step-by-step manner, that will really make this movie worth the watch. Because at the end of the day, it is a Planet of the Apes movie, a grand Planet of the Apes movie, and watching this movie is a journey. Like it's literally a journey. It's a very fulfilling journey at the end. Another thing that this movie does really well and kind of hooks you is the mystery around the motives of the characters. Like there are multiple characters with multiple different motives, but there's one human character and there's this one ape character and there's this another ape character who is kind of a villain. All these people have their own motives, their own things to do in this movie, and that really keeps you wondering that whose side am I on? Am I supposed to be on the human side? Am I supposed to be on the ape side? That dynamic was really enjoyable as well, because it really keeps you hooked in the story. Now if you're expecting a grand movie where you can see a lot of apes fighting each other, you won't get that pretty much, because it's kind of a journey. It's really a journey movie, so you won't get a lot of fight scenes. But yeah, those are there when it's necessary. It's a proper Planet of the Apes movie where the story is the king, like the character arc of characters is the king. So yeah, that's all I want to talk about in this video, but I'll definitely make at least one more video on this, like in which I can talk about spoilers in a very fleshed out manner. So I'll upload that video maybe tomorrow or day after, so please come back for that as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching.